Story 1. The Naked Woman and the Cat. It was around 11 p.m. when I got a pizza delivery order. The location was strange, a small house deep in the woods. I didn't think too much about it. People live in weird places sometimes. The road was dark and quiet. I drove slowly, following the GPS until I reached the house. It looked old and run down. There were no lights on, just the faint glow of the moon above. I got out of the bike with the pizza in hand and walked to the front door. There was no doorbell, so I knocked. No answer. I knocked again, still nothing. I thought maybe they didn't hear me, so I tried the door. To my surprise, it slowly creaked open. I stepped inside and called out, "Pizza delivery." No one answered. The house smelled musty. The floor creaked under my feet. It was cold, unnaturally cold. The lights were off, but I could see a dim light coming from a room down the hall. I was about to leave when I heard something. A soft humming sound. It was coming from that room. Curious, I walked closer. The door was half open. I peeked inside. What I saw still haunts me to this day. A woman was inside, kneeling on the floor. She was completely naked. She was facing a small altar and chanting something in a strange language. Her voice didn't sound normal. It was deep and didn't match her face. In front of her, there was blood on the floor. At first, I couldn't tell what it was. Then I looked closer. It was a cat with headless. I froze. I wanted to run, but I couldn't move. My hands were shaking. Then, the woman leaned forward. She picked up the cat's body and started eating it. She bit into it like it was food. Blood dripped from her mouth. She didn't even look human anymore. That was it. I ran. I dropped the pizza, ran out the door, got on my bike, and didn't stop until I was far away. I never went back to that place. I didn't tell my boss the full story, just that the house was empty. But I still have nightmares about that night. And I'll never deliver to the woods again. Story 2. Midnight at the mortuary. It was around 2 a.m. when I got pizza delivery ordered to an old hospital in Chile. The building looked worn out, like it had seen better days. The air outside was cold and heavy. I already felt uneasy before stepping in. At the front desk, the receptionist looked tired. She told me there was no staff available to assist with deliveries that night. "Just take it to the patient's room," she said, and gave me the room number. So, I started walking through the hospital halls alone. The lights flickered above me as I moved slowly. It was dead silent, except for the echo of my own footsteps. The hospital felt frozen in time. As I walked, I passed the mortuary room. Through the small glass window, I saw bodies under white sheets. I could feel my heart race. They looked freshly brought in for postmortem. I tried not to look, but my eyes were drawn to them. Suddenly, I felt something, like someone was behind me. I turned quickly. No one. I laughed nervously and kept walking, picking up my pace. But the feeling didn't go away. Soon, I heard faint footsteps behind me, matching my steps exactly. I panicked. I didn't want to look back this time. I just kept moving faster, nearly running. I was sweating even though it was cold. Every shadow looked like it was moving. Every hallway felt like it went on forever. Then it happened. A hand touched my shoulder. I froze. I couldn't breathe. My body locked up in pure fear. When I turned, there was a pale face. I don't even remember what he looked like because everything went black. I fainted on the spot. Next thing I knew, someone was splashing cold water on my face. I opened my eyes, gasping. It was a man in a hospital gown, sitting on the edge of a bed. He looked at me with a confused expression and said, "Where's my pizza?" I didn't answer. I just gave him the pizza and ran out without saying a word. That night still haunts me. I've made hundreds of deliveries since then, but that hospital, I never went back, and I never will. Story 3. The woman by the car. It was around 12:30 at night. I was on my way to deliver a pizza. The streets were empty and silent. There wasn't a single soul around. As I turned onto a quiet road, I saw a woman standing next to her car with the hood up. She waved at me to stop. She looked upset and asked for help. She said her car had broken down and needed help to fix it. I parked my bike on the side and agreed to help. She walked to the back of the car and opened the boot to get some tools. But then she just stood there, frozen. She didn't move. I waited a few seconds, thinking maybe she was looking for the tools. But time passed, and she still didn't come back. I called out to her, "Miss, do you need help finding it?" No reply. I walked slowly to the back of the car. She was standing still, facing the open trunk. Her head was tilted slightly, and her hair covered most of her face. I felt a chill in the air. I asked again, "Miss?" Suddenly, she mumbled something in a strange language. I didn't understand a word. It sounded ancient, harsh, and evil. My heart started beating fast. I took a step back. In an instant, she turned around and lunged at me. Her face was pale, her mouth open wide, and her teeth sharp like an animal's. She tried to bite my neck. I screamed and struggled to push her off, but she was unbelievably strong. Her eyes were black, empty, and full of rage. My hand touched something cold and hard on the ground. It was a metal rod lying beside the car. Without thinking, I grabbed it and hit her with all the strength I had. She fell back, hissing like a wild creature. I didn't wait. I jumped on my feet and ran as fast as I could, leaving my bike behind. I didn't stop running until I reached a main road. The next morning, I returned to get my bike. It was still there, untouched. But there was no sign of the woman, no open trunk, no dents or marks, nothing. It looked like nothing had happened. But I know what I saw. And I'll never forget the sound of her voice, or the way her eyes looked through me like I was already dead. Story 4. The pizza order from dead person. One night, I had to deliver a pizza to an old house on the edge of town. It was quiet, and the area looked dark and abandoned. When I reached the house, an old man was standing near the gate. He looked tired and pale. He stopped me and asked, "Who are you?" I told him, "I'm the delivery boy. I came to deliver a pizza for Mr. John." He just nodded and said, "Okay." I walked toward the house and knocked on the door. No one opened it. I knocked again, but still no answer. That same old man came up behind me and said, "Maybe they fell asleep. Just go inside and leave the pizza." I felt a little scared, but I thought maybe it was fine. I pushed the door, and it slowly creaked open. The house was dark and messy. The furniture was dusty. The dining table had old dishes on it, and the air smelled strange. I called out, "Mr. John? Your pizza is here." No reply. I walked further inside. The place gave me chills. Then I saw a room with the door half open. I peeked in and froze. Inside, on the bed, was the dead body of an old man. His skin was pale, and he wasn't breathing. But here's the worst part. He was the same man I saw outside. The same one who told me to go in. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. My whole body shook with fear. I dropped the pizza and ran out of the house as fast as I could. My heart was pounding. Once I reached my bike, I called 911 and reported the dead body. The police came quickly. After checking everything, they told me something that still haunts me. "That man has been dead since last night," they said. I was shocked. "That's not possible," I told them. "I just spoke to him at the gate." But there were no signs of anyone else. Just the dead man in the room. The pizza had been ordered under the name Mr. John, his name. To this day, I don't know who placed that order. Was it his spirit trying to let someone know he was dead? I have no answers. But I'll never forget that face, standing in the dark, waiting at the gate. Story 5. The Mirror Warning. One evening, I went to a restaurant to pick up the food I had ordered. It was late, and the place wasn't too crowded. When I reached the counter, the staff told me, "Your food will take another 5 minutes." I nodded and decided to use the restroom while waiting. As I entered the washroom, something felt strange. The air inside was cold, much colder than the rest of the restaurant. I ignored it at first. Then the lights started flickering by themselves. I stood still for a moment, trying to stay calm. Suddenly, the toilet flush went off on its own. I turned quickly, but there was no one there. Now I started getting scared. My heart was beating fast. I walked slowly toward the sink to wash my hands. When I looked up at the mirror, I saw something that froze me completely. There was a dark, blurry figure standing right behind me. I couldn't see its face clearly, but I knew it wasn't human. I turned around quickly, but nothing was there. When I looked back at the mirror, the figure was gone. But now, something else was on the mirror. In big letters, "Get out, from here," was written across the glass. That was it for me. I ran out of the restroom, gasping for air. I rushed back to the front counter and told the receptionist what just happened. She looked at me with a pale face. She asked, "You saw something in the restroom?" I nodded quickly. I told her about the flickering lights, the sound of the flush, and the message on the mirror. She lowered her voice and said, 5 days ago, a girl was murdered in that restroom. Her body was found near the sink, and we haven't been the same since." I was completely shocked. My hands were shaking. I never believed in ghosts before, but now I didn't know what to believe. After I got my food, I left the restaurant and never went back again. That night still haunts me. Story 6. She still calls at 12. I used to work night shifts at a small pizza shop in a quiet town. Most nights were boring. We had the usual drunk customers or strange orders, but nothing scary. Then, one night, something strange happened. At exactly 12 a.m., the phone rang. I picked it up, expecting a normal order. But instead, I heard something I'll never forget. It was a woman's voice, cold and flat. She wasn't speaking any language I knew. It sounded like chanting. A dark, angry kind of chanting. Like a curse. I froze. The voice didn't stop. It just repeated the same strange sounds over and over. It felt like the voice was crawling into my ears, deep into my mind. I asked, "Hello? Do you want to order?" But no one answered. Only the chanting continued. The worst part? Every time the phone rang, the air in the room changed. It became ice cold. Everything would go quiet, no cars outside, no wind, nothing. Just silence and the voice. It happened every single night. Always at midnight. Always the same voice. The same strange words. After a few nights, I told my manager. He didn't believe me until he picked up the phone himself. His face went white. He didn't say a word. Just hung up and looked shaken. The next day, he called the police. They traced the number. The call was coming from a house just outside of town. But here's the creepy part. The house had burned down a month earlier. A fire had killed everyone inside. A man, a woman, and their teenage daughter. The girl? She used to work part-time at our pizza shop. And the number that was calling us? It was her old phone number. I quit the job after that. I couldn't take it anymore. The fear, the voice, the cold. It was too much. Even now, I can't sleep at night. I still hear the phone ring in my dreams. Always at midnight. Always that same voice, chanting. I don't know what she wanted or why she kept calling the place she once worked. But one thing is clear to me now. She's dead. And she's still trying to come back. Story 7. The Crying Ghost at the Beach. It was just another late night delivery shift. After I clocked out, I decided to stop by the beach for a quick beer and some quiet. It was around 1:30 a.m., the moon full and the sky dead silent. The ocean looked like black glass, and the whole place had this calm, empty feeling. As I sat on a rock near the shore, sipping my beer, I noticed something, or rather, someone. A girl. Sitting alone on the sand, knees pulled to her chest, crying softly. The moonlight hit her, just enough that I could see her face. She had long dark hair, pale skin, and was dressed in a white dress that appeared to be soaked at the bottom. She looked lost. I walked over and asked gently, "Hey, are you okay? Do you need help?" She didn't say anything, just kept looking down, sobbing. I felt weird, like the air around her was colder than the rest of the beach. Still, I sat down a few feet away and cracked open my second beer. I offered it to her. After a long pause, she took it. We talked for maybe an hour. Her voice was soft, almost whispery. She told me she liked coming to this beach at night. It was peaceful. Said it reminded her of something she lost, but didn't say what. I didn't push. Then she said, "There's a couple more beers in my car. I'll go grab them." I pointed toward the parking lot and said, "It's a bit of a walk." "Are you sure?" She just nodded and smiled faintly. "It's right up the path. I'll be back in a second." I watched her stand up and walk toward the dunes. 10 seconds later, I swear, just 10 seconds, I turned my head toward the waves. When I looked back, she was gone. No figure on the path. No sound of footsteps. No car. Nothing. I ran up to the lot, scanned the whole place. Empty. No tire marks. No engine noise. Just silence and cold wind. I don't know who she was or what she was, but something about her didn't feel human. The way she vanished, the way the air felt heavy after she left. That night still haunts me. Sometimes I wonder if she ever really needed help, or if she was looking for someone to join her. Story 8. The Man and the Cat. I've delivered pizzas for way too long. The money's decent, and most nights are pretty laid back. But this one night, it shook me in a way I'll never forget. It was a big order, 3 pizzas, wings, garlic bread, sodas, the works. The address was in an older neighborhood, kind of tucked away and dark, barely any streetlights. I pulled up around 9:45 p.m. House looked normal enough. Small, quiet, one porch light flickering. A guy answered the door. White, maybe mid-50s, kind of plain looking. Comb-over hair, cardigan. He smiled, but something about it didn't reach his eyes. "Hey," he said. "Come on in. Just put it all on the kitchen table for me." It was a big order, so I figured, yeah, sure. I stepped inside. The place smelled like old wood and something else. Something metallic. Almost like blood, but I brushed it off. As I took a few steps in, past him, the door slammed shut behind me. Then I heard his voice, like it came from a place with no light. "You aren't going anywhere." I froze. Every hair on my body stood up. My heart was pounding so loud, I could barely hear anything else. My body felt like it was locked in place, like I'd been dropped in ice water. I thought I was going to puke or pass out right there in his hallway. I didn't dare turn around. I genuinely thought this was it. Then, in the most casual tone, he added, "Right, Whiskers?" I turned around slowly. He was crouched down, petting his fat, gray cat that had just walked into the room. He smiled up at me again. "She always tries to sneak out the door," he laughed. "Drives me nuts." I let out a shaky, awkward laugh, heart still hammering in my chest. He handed me $8 as a tip and said, "Stay safe out there. Lots of weirdos these days." I mumbled something and practically ran back to my car. As soon as I got a block away, I pulled over and just lost it. Full on panic, shaking, tears down my face. I still don't know if it was just a bad coincidence, or if, for a second, he meant it.